Hey everyone, Howie Fischer from Fisher's Flies. Thanks for checking in. Today I'm going to be tying up a CDC Caddis pattern that is really simple, really only requires two materials, and is great for low water conditions or spooky conditions. For the hook and the vise, I'm getting started with an Ahrex Freshwater 503, which is their dry fly light barbless hook, and today I'm tying this in a size 16. For the thread today, I'm using UTC Ultra Thread in 70 denier tan. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with my thread right behind the hook eye and secure this onto the hook before snipping off my tag end. Once I've done that, I'm going to bring my thread back to the bend of the hook and let it hang there while I grab my first material, which is my Perfect Blend dubbing. This is a great custom dubbing blend, which is a mix of CDC, squirrel, and flash. If you are interested in some, please feel free to reach out to me. So the first step here is I'm going to uncord my thread by spinning it counterclockwise, and I'm going to flatten it out and stick my bodkin in between it to create a split thread dubbing loop. I'm then going to go ahead and grab my clump of dubbing that I've straightened out and insert it into my dubbing loop, and I'm going to go ahead and spread it out a little bit, make sure it's evenly dispersed. I personally like to make it a little bit heavier towards what will be the end of the fly, or the head of the fly, which will actually be the end of that dubbing loop, the bottom of that dubbing loop. And I'll go ahead and link a video that I've done on split thread dubbing loops above, so if you want to watch that, go ahead and click on that. Once I've got it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and twist it up by spinning my bobbin clockwise to cord it back up. I'm going to go ahead and brush it out, make sure no fibers are trapped. And then I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this forward to the eye of the hook. And I'm going to do it in touching wraps, make sure that this is spread out pretty evenly. It doesn't have to be super fancy or super nice, because I'm going to go ahead and brush it out and make sure that everything is where I want it. Once I've got it there, I like to go ahead and take a bunch of wraps just to make sure that it's not going anywhere, especially if you've ever tied like this before. Sometimes you might hit that bobbin with your brush and it does some funky stuff with the bobbin and unwraps it. So once I've got it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and snip off the bottom of this dubbing. And this really is to make a profile of a body. I'm going to leave the fibers on the top and the side to start creating that wing. So for the next step, I am going to go ahead and grab another clump of this Perfect Blend dubbing, and this is going to be a generous clump, and this is again going to be the wing of this fly. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this in to right where I want it, and I'm going to go ahead and snip off the excess on the front if I have any. And this is CDC and squirrel, so again, the CDC especially helps this fly float, especially with the application of a little bit of floating. But you can see we're starting to build a nice little wing there. The next material that I'm going to grab is our hot spot, and this is going to continue to build the wing. This is Fulling Mills Ultra Dry Yarn in Fluorescent Orange. This is a new product from them in their new line. It is pre-treated with floating material, so it's super nice actually. I'm going to go ahead and tie it in right over top of the wing. Make sure it is secure before snipping off the excess that I have here in the front. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that the length that it is for right now, and I will snip it off at the very end. What I'm doing now is really just making a base for the final part of the fly, which is going to be more Perfect Blend dubbing. So just go ahead and take a couple wraps to even it out. It'll make finishing this fly just a little bit easier. So again, I'm going to go ahead and take some more Perfect Blend dubbing, straighten it out, get the tips lined up, and I'm going to create another split thread dubbing loop here. So again, that video is above if you need to watch that video on some different tips and tricks on how to make these dubbing loops a little bit easier for you. Again, once I've inserted it into the Dubbing loop, I'm going to go ahead and spread it out, make sure it is distributed evenly. And if you have some longer fibers in this dubbing loop, it's not the end of the world. It's actually probably a little bit more beneficial. Will help the fly look a little bit more buggy, look like legs, antenna, stuff like that. Again, I'm going to go ahead and twist this dubbing loop up by spinning the bobbin clockwise. And once I've got it where I want it, I'll go ahead and wrap it forward. So with every wrap that I take, I'm going to push these fibers backwards to make sure nothing is trapped. And once I've got that to right behind the eye, go ahead and give it a couple wraps and then give it a 3 or 4 turn whip finish while holding those materials back, again making sure nothing gets trapped. I like to always do at least 2 whip finishes just for security. Then I will go ahead and snip my excess thread off, and there you have it. Again, this is a pretty simple CDC caddis that will float, look super buggy, and be good for spooky trout or low water conditions where you don't really want something that's going to plop down on top of the water. Last step is I'm going to cut that hot spot just shy, about even with the wing that I created. And again, there you have it. This is a super simple, super buggy fly right here. Tie them up, fish them, let me know what you think. Thanks for checking in.